Hello, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to this week's episode of the Author Collaborative. My guest this week is Shalini Malik. I have read her first and only book, which is Stars from the Borderless Sea, and I have really enjoyed reading it. We will be talking about her book and my book, Love and Melodrama. Do stay connected. It's going to be a really interesting conversation. My guest is a debut author, so her experiences of writing and publishing would be really valuable, and she will be sharing her experiences with us. I am looking forward to talking to her and getting to know her better. She is also a blogger who has turned into an author, and her other profession is that of a doctor. Hi, Sameem. Happy to see you too. Thank you for joining. I'm waiting for today's guest. Let me see if I can add her. Please stay connected. It's going to be a very nice episode. She's a debut author, so her inputs are going to be really valuable for everyone. First time experiences are always different for everyone, and we can learn a lot from them. So please stay connected. Shalini is here. Let me invite her. Waiting for Shalini to go live with me. Shalini, I have accepted your invitation. Wow. Are you not able to join me? Let me send you another invitation. I don't know what the issue is. Hmm. I'm sending in the invitation again. See if you can accept and join. This problem with Instagram is becoming repetitive, where when I'm not able to start with the show right away. This
We're okay now.
some I can't see you.
That is weird.
This is happening every week. I don't know what the problem is with Instagram.
I
I'm only
don't.
able to see myself,
Oh,
which is
that's
very weird.
weird. I can see you. I can hear you. I mean, both. And you could see me when we just spoke, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
So
could see you then.
then it's not a permissions issue or anything. I rechecked all that. This is so weird.
It's okay. I'll just have to listen to you.
I guess so.
Okay,
I
so Shalini,
I
so
think the others can see both of us, which is nice. Although
this
you
the
are missing
same
out.
the same thing happened last Friday also, where I was, I invited the guest and I was not able to see them, but we went on with the episode like this only. So, koi baat nahi.
It's
I'm used to
okay.
this now. Okay, so first of all, Shalini, welcome to the show and thank you for joining me. How are you?
I'm all good, Manali. Thank you so much for the invitation. Thank you for having me here and reaching out to me and then inviting me. I'm all good, and it's an absolute pleasure to be here this evening with all you and all the others who've joined us. Thank you for joining.
Yes, so before we start the show, I would like for you to tell us about yourself. Of course, you are an author that everyone knows, but other than that, we want to know about your other life also.
Yes, absolutely. As you said rightly, I am an author. I am also a doctor. I'm a pathologist. I work full time, so I that does keep me busy. Other than that, I'm based in Gurgaon in Delhi NCR. I have two teenagers who want me out of their lives, so they're happy when I'm writing. You know what I mean. And I actually started writing not very early. Just a couple of years back. I started writing short stories, and then I wanted to put this book out. And I also write a lot of nonfiction. I like to write a lot about women's issues, about the intersections of feminism and gender and those kind of things. Although this book is an entirely different area, so I do both fiction and non-fiction.
Oh, that's wonderful. So, you write non-fiction also? Yes, of course, because I have seen you being an avid blogger, and you are very active on a lot of platforms. So that's wonderful that you are able to write in different genres also.
Thank you. I think that, we all just experiment when we start writing. I think we try a little bit of everything and then some things work for us and then we go more and more into it. So that's what happened with me also.
Yes. Now let's focus on the book that we are going to talk about. This is the book that I of yours that I have read. Stars from the Borderless Sea. This is what the cover looks like. And we are going to talk about it in a bit, but I want to read out one of my favorite passages from the
Sure.
book first. Okay. So I think it's from the first chapter, and it's one of those moments where you are struck by the romanticism of how well written the scene is. Okay, so I'm just going to start. That day, when she had laughed, it was different. If something could be the summer rain and the warmth of the winter sun at the same time, it was her joyous laughter. Decades later, it would continue to echo in his imagination, crystal clear, sparkling, and uplifting. That moment, he had fallen in love with her. He felt as if he had stumbled upon a part of himself, a part he hadn't even known was missing, as if something he had been yearning for without even being aware of it had homed in and settled irreversibly in his soul. Tea over, they made their way to their respective classrooms. He had taken her hands in his, gently squeezed those delicate fingers, and then released them. She had she had watched him stride off towards the laboratory. She knew she would see him again in a few hours, yet she waited until he was out of sight and then some more. Then when she had that was when she had fallen in love with him. It felt as if he had taken a piece of her with him, a piece she hadn't known existed, a piece that had been hidden deep within her, waiting to be found only by him. He had unearthed it, caressed it lovingly and tenderly, and walked away with it. It would now forever belong to him. Just so beautiful. I mean, there's no
Thank
better
you.
way to describe the joy of first love, right?
Thank you. This is one of my favorite passages also. Thank you so much.
And the way you described that laughter of hers, I was like, wow. Comparing it to seasons, I think that's one of the most romantic things for us as readers and writers, right? We love when our romance is compared to anything with nature's beauty, and
True.
that's what I was very touched by. So kudos on that. Kudos on a very well written scene.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, so this was your first book, and I have a few questions with me related to the book and my, experience of reading it.
Sure.
My
Sure.
first question to you is, how do you manage these two professions? Because they are both very time consuming and very taxing. I know. My sister-in-law is a doctor, so I know what kind of a life a doctor is expected to lead in their professional front. And then I come across somebody else like you who's also chosen to be a writer alongside being a doctor. So I'm sure it must be crazy maintaining a balance between the two professions. So how do you do it? What kind of discipline goes into it? And please share your daily routines and the kind of discipline you follow to maintain a balance between these two.
So, yes, it's not easy. And this is something that I say again and again. I don't say it to scare people away, but I say it because, because on social media, and this is something that I feel very strongly that everything looks very easy and everything looks, like when you go on social media, you think everyone's doing everything. So that's not the case. It's not easy. It's not easy balancing anything. And I think all of us writers, there are very few of us, right, who are making bread and butter out of writing. So whether you're managing home, family, a career, yes, it takes a lot of discipline. It takes a lot of planning. I am by nature a very organized person. So I have slots in my day where I want to, build in writing. And I do that. I wake up early in the morning. when I don't have too many chores to do, that before, before the morning rush hits, as we were chatting that day. So that's my time. I try and use that. But at the same time, many times it's not enough because, you're a writer yourself. So, once you're in the flow of a scene and you have to get up and get ready and go to work or for as a time bound exercise, it can be quite frustrating, right? But, you have to, at those moments, you have to go easy on yourself because you do have to balance things. There's no point getting frustrated or getting irritated. So I try and, schedule chunks of the day or chunks of the week also, because weekend mornings, for example, if Sunday I'm at home, everyone will get up late. So instead of sleeping in, I try and get up early, try and get those 3-4 hours of writing done. So, if I've done that, then I'm not so cranky on Monday because, then I know I've got my writing done and now I can go to work, which is equally important and which I also enjoy, So if I have done my writing, if I've caught up with whatever I had to do over the last week, I feel, I'm in a happier space. So yes, it takes a lot of motivation. And I think what else you need to remember is that each day is not going to be the same. So as long as you're broadly consistent, it's okay. Write every day, write maybe 4 days a week, 5 days a week. But there are so many things which are outside our control. For example, right now my work is really busy. So, I'm more exhausted than usual. I can't come home and write. I'm not in a creative frame of mind. And so, and this happened to me just last week. So I was forcing myself, I should give myself that 1 hour in the evening. But if you're not creatively oriented at that time, if you're too tired and the words are not flowing, might as well give yourself some rest, no? Because, it's not going to help really if you just keep sitting at the table and you get 10 words out just to show that you've done that 1 hour of thing. So you have to balance, you have to, understand yourself and you have to understand your commitments. It's not easy, but it will happen gradually. And the other thing is, don't compare yourself to all the people you see on social media or Amazon churning out books. It's not as easy as it looks. Every author has struggled. And little by little, every author gets their books out whenever, they have to. So it's a different journey for everyone. That's all I actually can offer, at this point.
So well put together. I mean, what you said about consistency and discipline, of course, yes, you need to have that if you want to be good in any profession. That goes without saying. And yes, of course, when you're balancing, that becomes equally important. But I actually loved what you said about not being too hard on yourself and not pushing the limit. When your creative process is not happening, just relax, let it go.
Yeah.
नहीं हो रहा है मैं
Nahi ho raha. Sit down, read a book, relax. I read rom-coms by the dozen in those times. I just read, one after the other. So, you have to give yourself that breather.
Yes, thank you for saying that. And I'm sure those who are listening will also feel better that they are not the only ones who are, feeling the pressure of social media on themselves. And they'll be like, हाँ, ठीक है. उसका हो रहा है, इसका जरूरी नहीं है कि मेरा भी हो.
Exactly.
Okay, that brings me to my next question to you. You are a prolific blogger and you have been writing online on various platforms for a long time before you put out your first book. So, is that interspersed with somebody who's aspiring to become a writer, for a blogger? I'm sure there are many bloggers who aspire to become authors like us. So does that help in any way when you are a prolific writer, you have a community who's following your work online as a blogger? Does that help when you eventually make the transition from a blogger to an author?
So yes, it helps. It helps not just because you have that at least a few people who are reading your work, who are familiar with the kind of work you do, and whether or not they are wanting to read your work or not, they are in many ways encouraging you. When they are reading your posts, they're commenting on them. As a person, you're connecting with that reader, right? And that is itself a very big encouragement for a writer. you know. So that eggs you on, first thing. Second is you have a set of people who would be interested in what you put out. They may not like it. Everyone won't like what we are writing. But at least you have a certain group of people who are interested in what you write. And yes, they will be your first readers, hopefully. But more than that, your bloggers are your community. And a lot of bloggers are women, so I will use the word sisterhood, although it is a community, it is open to all genders. I'm just using it as an example. So, you know, you will connect with people. I found my beta readers through this community, for example.
Wonderful.
So it's not that I'm going to use whoever is reading me as a as a future buyer. It's a part where you're growing together. You know, it's not a structured thing that if I have this, so many people are reading my blogs, that means so many people will buy so many copies. It is a mutual process of growth. You grow through their comments, through how they engage with you as a blogger. You evolve and you form your community. So yes, it helps in many ways, and there's also a downside. They're expecting a certain level of work from you. They're expecting so even before you put your book out, there is a baseline expectation that you don't want you don't want them to be disheartened, because this is a group of people who supported you from the beginning. So you feel more committed to putting out a quality product. So you work harder, I think, which is good. If you're more committed and you're more conscious of what you're putting out, you will work harder. So yes, it helps in many ways. But I would like to say this, having said all this, it's okay even if you don't have it. It's whatever happens organically, fine. You can't construct a path like this. It's that I will go out and I will put, so like I said, it's not maths that I will put so many posts and then so many people will read. If it happens organically, you connect with people, that is good. There are many people who are introverts who are not putting their words out before their book. That is also okay. Like I said, it's their own journey. So it's worked very well for me, mostly because I found a very encouraging sisterhood. Some of the people who I started out blogging with, I still am in touch. And, when I can't get the words out, it's just one line. I can't write. I'm a terrible writer. And then, those friends will egg you on, no, Shalini, you can do it. And that's what you need. So,
Exactly. We have Deepti here who's saying hi. Hi, Manali and
hi,
Shalini. Thank you so much.
Deepti. So nice to have Deepti here.
We also had Deepti here. She was also saying hi. And
Okay,
then
lovely.
she was agreeing to your point of, I think, about turning from blogger to author and community support. Thank you, Nilshri.
Yeah,
Okay.
thanks, Nilshri.
Okay, that brings me to the end of my questions that I had for you. I leave the floor open to you now.
Okay, so I read your love and melodrama, and I want to know: did you always want to do a series, or were the characters so strong and overpowering that they couldn't be contained in one book? So how did the series thing happen?
Before I answer the question, why don't you show the book to the audience, the cover, if you have it with you, the book.
Yeah, let me just try and open it on my Kindle. Of course, here it is. So, no, where did it go? It's in a hurry to come to the quotations. It's not staying at the cover page. Uh, I'll read the quotation first, and then I'll close the book and go to the cover if that's fine. So,
Sure, sure, yes.
so one thing I really liked about your book was how you start. Lots of books start each chapter with a quotation. I mean, that is like a very standard thing. But no, you do it with a quote from the character by the protagonist. So that was really a really, really cute way of, there's this whole debate about show and tell. You just ended it in like those two lines because you told us so much about the character with that quote. So we have this chapter at the beginning where Gayatri, who's our main protagonist and who's going to have a very eventful journey in your book. So she says that believing that only good things will happen to you is like hoping that your ice cream never melts, even in summer and when kept outside the freezer. Gayatri Kulkarni. And the name of this chapter is Goodwill or God's Will. So that's another very cute little wordplay, which just hooks you when you start reading. And then we have a session or a conversation between Gayatri and her mom, where her parents are talking about celebrating the Ganeshotsav. So, what I liked about this quotation was that you've told me so much about Gayatri, that she's someone who is, she's not cynical, but she's very realistic. And she's also very, she's very nonchalant in a way that, you people who think this, it's unbridled optimism is not the kind of thing that will get someone aage in life, and that's what we do see from her. She's a very pragmatic person. At the same time, she's not someone who gives up on her dreams. So, the quotation is so beautifully selected. And now I hope the cover stays. I don't know what's wrong with Kindle. But it's just taking me back to the same point in your book again and again. So that's what I really liked about your book, about how you've done this. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I
So
really like to pick that quote because it's one of my favorite quotes also because you see so much of Gayatri's character in that one quote.
yeah, I mean, exactly. So it sort of, sets the tone for what you want, what's going to happen, and it keeps you all into about the content that's going to come. So tell me about, how the series happened.
Coming to your question
Yeah.
related to whether I wanted the book to be a series or not. So I will be very honest with you. My first three books, I had explored poetry, I had explored microfiction, and then I had explored flash fiction.
Okay.
By that time, I was ready to challenge myself into long form fiction writing. I was like, ab to karna hi hai. I already have three books. It was not just that people were expecting me to come up with a novel, it was that I also wanted to do it. So, the first book of the series, Love Triangle, was only like, मुझे लिखना है, मुझे देखना है, मुझे मैं कर सकती हूँ कि नहीं. So that was the only motivation at that point. But once the book came out and the kind of love that it received, and especially Gayatri's character, the kind of love that Gayatri's character received, that became a motivation for me to, continue with the series and explore Gayatri's character and Gayatri's story also. So no, the plan was never there to convert the novels into a series, but that's how it ultimately happened because people's love for the first book became a motivating factor for me to continue the series.
That is so lovely to know. I mean, and the characters have continued their own journey. that is absolutely beautiful. So, what do you feel is your signature style? What is it that is Manali's USP?
Uh, I think to some extent I believe that my characters, I imagine in them in my head doing these actions and going about their day-to-day life. In my imagination, they are so real that first I start believing that हाँ ये इनकी ऐसी जिंदगी चल रही है, they exist.
Yeah.
So I think that makes them very authentic when I put them on paper also. That's why maybe people are able to relate to my stories. And they are not very over the top characters. Like they are not millionaires or somebody,
Yes.
बहुत सारा पैसा है जिनके पास. Yeah.
Yeah.
Though it's not those kind of characters and stories. And also my stories, as far as I understand, based on my reading, I call my stories slice of life stories because they are very regular people and they are very regular stories. ये किसी के साथ भी हो सकता है. Those are those kind of incidents and stories that I have written so far in my writing journey, authoring journey, I must say. So I think that's what is unique about my writing. Probably I'm not sure how it differentiates me from the other authors in the same pool, but that is what I have tried to do, and that is what I believe that makes my stories and my writing unique.
I agree, but I would like to add that what I felt was different was also all this is absolutely true. The relatability and the scenes that that holy scene, it is so relatable. It's kind of that's the way all of us celebrate a festival, and you have that tinge of the Indian family. I think that's what roots all of us. But more than that, it's that what I found was your signature style was the Bollywood buzz. Right? Totally,
Oh, thank you
So,
so much.
um,
Yes, somewhere
so
my
I
love
haven't
for
seen a lot
Bollywood
of,
is
yeah, I haven't seen
proving.
a lot of people do that in their books, and so, and you do it without being over the top. It's part of the scene, so it makes you feel the flow, and I really enjoyed that.
Thank you so much. That makes me really happy. Okay. Now, coming to my favorite part of the show, which is the rapid fire round. Shalini, how we'll do it is I will ask one question, you will ask one question. I was told in one of the shows that, since the guest is the guest of honor, they should be allowed to ask first. So, do you want to go first?
As you wish it. Okay, since you have given me that privilege. So this is not a question about books. This is a question about book reviews because you read a lot and you review a lot, and book reviews are very very important for all of us, right? So what do you think is a good book review? Uh,
So, with the trend that I have been observing since I became an author, and the boom of Bookstagram and book bloggers
yes.
all around the place, I feel that yes, it is easy to get your book reviewed, but how that person reviews your book and whether or not that review is going to turn into something productive for the author, पहले तो ये देखो कि what kind of reach you have, that is of course always important, but be real in your review. ऐसा नहीं है कि you have got a review copy so you have to write only good things. For me the review has to be critical also. If you have not liked something, be specific about what you have not liked without being hateful. Of
Yes.
course, don't be hateful. तुम्हें नहीं अच्छा लगा तो वो बताओ क्यों नहीं अच्छा लगा. Don't tell people that they should not buy this book because you didn't like it. Tell them you didn't like it, but they might like it. That particular part of the story you might have not liked, but there are readers out there that they might appreciate that particular part of the story. So be genuine in your review, but don't be hateful. That's just what I have to say. Like, तुम्हें नहीं अच्छा लगा, but put out a disclaimer, a little sort of a thing that this is a me thing. Probably this might work for you.
Yeah, I think that's a very, very important thing that you've said because either you have reviewers which are totally going, making it like the next Booker Prize winner, which we know that each book is not, right?
Yeah.
And also each person cannot like each book, right? So and that's okay. That's okay. So I think what you've said is very relevant to all of us, to me and the other authors who are listening here. So thank you for that.
Yeah, making it not hateful is
Yeah.
like the common courtesy of being a reader.
Yeah. True.
Okay, so my first question to you, because I know that you write poetry also, so I want to know. Uh, just a minute, where am I? I've lost my questions. Oh, just a minute. Give me a few seconds. Till the time, if
Take
we
your
have something
time.
in the comments.
Take your time. No problems.
Yes. Okay. So my first question to you is, since you write short stories and poetry and long form fiction, I'm hoping we'll see from you in a few years. But your short stories are also novellas also. So it's long form fiction only. I want to understand that as a reader, what genre would you pick first and why?
As a reader, definitely the long form, full length novel. I enjoy reading short stories, but when it comes to, when I really want to sit down and read, I want the entire depth. I want the depth, the breadth, the length, everything of the story. So I would any day pick up a novel. I enjoy short stories, but those are, I never finish a short story book at one go. I'll read three stories, then I'll come back to the book after 1 month. So a novel is like what totally compels me and pulls me in if it's well written.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, that's not the answer I was expecting. So I'm very impressed.
You told me I could answer in whichever way I want.
Yes, yes. Yes, no, but I expected you to say short stories or poetry, but you completely went out and unpredictable answer kiya. Very good. I'm happy. Yes, your turn.
Okay, so my turn. When do you write best? Under pressure or at leisure?
When I begin to write, I think
Mm.
I work in leisure when I start writing. But after that, when the actual pressure starts building, I will tell you when that actual pressure sets in into me. If I tell more than 3 people, no, मुझे पता है कि वो प्रेशर आ जाएगा मुझ पे. Now people know. Now they will ask me कि क्या
Aki.
चल रहा है? Where are you? How is the progress going? That works better for me. So yeah, when you start writing, it's okay. Leisure में लिखो. But after you are done with, I think 30-40% of the book or whatever you're doing, tell people. फिर pressure आ जाएगा तुम पे. Performance pressure.
I think that's a very useful tip because otherwise that is where our tempo starts dropping.
Yeah. you
Very
we,
useful.
we tend to become complacent after we have
Yeah.
begun something. At one point you're like, हाँ हो रहा है ना, क्या जल्दी है?
I think that's a very useful tip. I'm going to try that for my next.
Okay. My next question to you is something you would trade for a day of writing.
Something I would trade for means that I would be willing to give up.
मतलब आज मुझे ये नहीं करना है, मैं सिर्फ लिखूंगी, ये छोड़ दूंगी, ये किसी और दिन करूंगी.
घर का कोई भी काम आज क्या करें?
Oh my God, so true. I think a lot of women are going to relate to that.
Normal chores, yeah. Just give me one day when I don't have to think and do all that, and I can just focus, not just give it the physical time, but also the mental energy to just write. Because a lot of time you have that physical window, but half of your mind is supposed to be processing what is going to be the next meal and what is going to be the next test, the next exam. So just a day free from responsibilities of caring for other people, I guess. I would die
Yeah.
for that. I think all of us would.
ले लो, ये कंधों से
Yeah.
बोझ ले लो.
Seriously, एक दिन के लिए ले लो और अगले दिन वो डबल करके मत देना. Right?
Yeah, that is also very important, right? मैं नहीं सीख रही तो ये क्या कर दिया तुम लोगों ने?
Exactly.
Okay. Mental energy, yes. Sukaina is with us. She thinks mental energy. Yes, very true, yaar. Okay, your turn again.
My turn. Okay. How much of yourself is there in your protagonist? For example, Gayatri.
In Gayatri, oh my God, I have to keep saying this because a lot of people think that Gayatri is inspired by my own personality. She's not. मुझे डांस का टीवी नहीं आता है. मतलब आता है, but I have like 2 left feet. I keep saying that I have 2 left feet. So no, not as much in Gayatri, but yes, a lot of me you will see in Aisha because
Yeah.
she writes poetry and she's somebody who I can relate to. She left her home and she made her identity in Mumbai. That happened with me also. So a lot of me you will see in Aisha, but not in Gayatri.
Okay.
But yes, I must say that most of my characters are based on observations I have seen in people around me.
Yeah. I think that's true for all of us who are writing fiction, right?
Yes.
So there's a question that Deepthi has asked. Would you like to take that or would you like to continue?
Yes, we'll take it. Both of you write romance and poetry. Is there any genre that you would hesitate to write and why? Oh my God, I'm very glad that this question came from Deepthi. Would you like to go first?
I would, but it's Deepthi who's asked the question, so I could never write horror. I'm saying that to Deepthi.
Exactly. That's why I said that I'm glad this question came from
And
Deepthi.
we're both saying that to Deepthi, but I'm happier reading horror from her, but I can't write it.
Yeah, same here. I have not explored thriller yet. I am in the process of writing one thriller story जो खत्म ही नहीं हो रही है यार. मतलब it's so challenging. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
but I can't do horror. I'm very clear.
I am
Okay.
challenging myself in that, but वो नहीं हो पा रहा है. Neeti, hats off to you for that. You write wonderful thrillers, I must say.
Absolutely, I agree.
Yes.
I think your question.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just a minute. I have lost the question again. Okay. Yes, I found. So, if not writing or working as a doctor or reading, what else would we find Shalini doing?
You took away reading also. Now that doesn't leave me with much in my life, but So, what you would find me doing is listening to old Hindi movie songs,
Hmm.
catching up with friends and family. Um, Pretty much that's it. I mean, after taking away reading, what's there left? Nothing seems to be left.
Yeah, I'm
It's
sorry I took that away.
and if you were expecting me to say that I'll be in the gym, sorry, that's not happening.
Okay.
Process luck.
Okay. Got it. Okay, your turn. I'm
Okay.
loving how spontaneous we are with this.
Yeah, this is fun. So, poetry or prose? What comes more naturally? I know you write both, and I know you're good at both. But what comes more naturally to you?
Definitely poetry because
Um,
I think
hmm.
not because I love it more or I think I'm better at it, which somewhere I do, but I know I am pretty good at both. But only because I have written poetry for a longer time than I have written any other genre.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah, that's
Lovely.
uh okay. So your favorite character from the street stories and why?
Okay, so that's a very tough one because I mean, I'm the one who sort of spent maximum time with all of them, but it is Mahima from the third story, and
Hmm.
the reason for it is because because of the kind of life that she's had. To rebuild a life after those kind of difficulties, to find yourself after losing yourself to that extent is a huge challenge.
Hmm.
And it's very easy, even after you move on, the kind of decisions that she's taken and had the courage to take. I'm not going to give away any spoilers for those of us who have not read the book, but to have a relationship the way she did and be unapologetic about it, and to draw strength from whatever it is that she had. That's a huge form of courage. We don't often say, when we say courage, we talk about what should be bravery, right? कि उसने कुछ बहुत बड़ा काम किया. But it's the little steps, it's the little moments when you empower yourself, which actually are taking a lot of courage. And she showed that throughout. I mean, the others also did, but for her, it was not just rebuilding her life, it was rebuilding herself, the person that she was. And she did it with a lot of grace, whether it was in her relationship or even afterwards in the end. You don't see any bitterness in her. And for me, that is a sign of grace. That is a sign of being an evolved person. So definitely, that was actually the story I wrote first, frankly speaking.
Oh wow.
This book started with that story. It was, although that time Mahima ka naam kuch aur tha and all that, all of us writers play like that, right? But this book was Mahima's story, and then the other stories happened. And somewhere along the way, I became so attached to her that I wanted to keep her with me, and that's why I put her at the end of the book. I don't know if this makes sense or not, but it's just how we authors are, right? So I'm definitely that is her from the third story.
Wow, thank you for sharing that with us. We have also gone behind the scenes of the book, which I love. I absolutely love the process of reading how the book
Yeah.
came about, how the characters came about. So thank you for sharing that. Yes, your turn.
Okay. So, romance novels without steamy sex. What's your take on them?
Uh, Possible, but not quite as enjoyable. I mean, it's possible to do complete movies also without, showing any kind of intimacy. And they work well, they have worked well, and they continue to do well. And the same goes for books. But for me, I believe that, that touch, see,
Yeah.
feel, really important. I mean,
Yeah.
I need to feel those feelings the characters are feeling. So,
Yeah.
hope,
That connection will be better felt.
yeah. And you earlier pointed out, showing and not telling. And I think that
Yeah.
is possible with physical touch a lot.
Yeah.
So, yes, definitely. Uh, Intimacy is important in romance novels. If you're writing, not writing romance novels, of course, it's not as important, but romance में तो चाहिए मेरे
Yeah.
हिसाब से.
Fair enough.
Okay, my last question. Are we on the last? No. Are we?
Yeah,
Yes,
I think so. Yeah.
Yes. So, your book is now over a year old, I believe, right? It was released in
Yes.
February 2022, if I'm not wrong.
Yes. Yeah, that's right.
Okay. And I personally have this habit of going back to my writings from earlier on. So now that you have had time to reflect on your writing over a year and a half, what do you think, or do you at all think that something you might have done differently in the stories or in the characters, and why?
So I think, yeah, it's not just you, all of us, I think should always revisit our work because we are in a different space right now and hopefully we would have grown as a writer. Having said that, in my book specifically, in the first story, the one that you read from, so that, like Geetika is too perfect. She is basically it's her life which is flawed, but as a character, she did not have too many flaws. Or if she did, then they have not come forth in the book in the aspect of her romance, right? I'm sure she might have been flawed as a mother, she might have been flawed as a businesswoman, but as a that has not come through in the book because the book is more about her romance and about how it manifested. So maybe I would have portrayed her a little differently. That does come up in my mind, and now when I write other books and other characters, I keep that in my mind. That a little more. Depth, maybe a little more, not just depth, but a little more nuances to her personality. I got the feeling that her personality was at the back end and it got overshadowed by the letters. But having said that, that was what I wanted to put forth also. So, but yeah, there's always a different way to show your characters and your protagonists.
I love how honest you are about this. That is so difficult to accept as creators, and it also shows that you are willing to grow, which is very important, कि हाँ ये गलती मुझसे हुई है, आगे के बुक्स में मुझे ये गलती नहीं करनी है. So that's thank you for saying that, and I'm sure who are listening also will, I hopefully, they will also learn to accept that particular part about being
I think
in book.
most authors, when they go back to their previous works, I mean, a lot of authors actually say that they cringe because, now they've evolved and, they're like, how could I have written this and that kind of a thing. So I think that is, like you said, that is a sign of growth. We can't stop uh, at that point with each piece that we write, even pieces that we don't send out into the world. We are growing. We should
Yes.
be growing, right? And all these, reading each other's books, interacting with each other, and then going back and thinking about your characters, this is also part of that growth. So,
Yeah. Thank you so much. I love how honest you are about this. We have Preeti here saying that why she is lost, why she needs to find herself. I think she's validating your point about putting more depth into Gitiya's
yeah,
character.
yeah,
You know.
correct.
Okay. I think we are at the end of each other's questions now. We are done with the rapid
Yeah,
fire also. Okay.
yes,
Let's see
yeah.
if we have any more comments that we missed out on. Did we? While I'm scrolling up, if you have any new questions or comments to make, please feel free. Whoever is here with us, Deepika, Shalini and I are done with the questions we had for each other, and now we are going to address the questions you put forth for us. अभी भी कुछ नया question है तो डालो comments में. We'll be happy to answer. This was such a wonderful, session. Like free flowing, it was. ऐसा लगा ही नहीं कि I'm talking to you for the first time, which is
Yeah, it
very
was
rare.
it was fun. Yeah, and I like it when it's not that structured because I mean at the end of the day we're just talking to each other, right? And that's more fun. Oh, Deepti, you go first.
I think I already said that I'm working on a thriller. The plan was to release it on Halloween, and I've already admitted that I'm finding it very challenging. So इस Halloween पे तो नहीं आ रही है वो. Probably next Halloween.
Okay, so I'm working on a full-length novel, which is more of a coming of age kind of a thing about three young people trying to find themselves.
Oh,
So I don't know when it's coming out. I'm just working on it.
Okay.
So Kenna also had a question. I think she said, "Why love?" Question for Shalini. Should I? I'm so glad that that question came up. This is a question that a lot of people asked me, in words and in actions both, because before this I'd been writing like really strong women centric pieces like 130 years it's going to take for gender parity and blah blah blah, like really hard ones. And then I came up with this like little, I like to call this my soft little flower book, because of the feelings that it portrays. So the reason for that and was that I started writing this book during the pandemic, and we didn't have work from home. I'm a doctor. I worked every day, and we were up close, really closer than some other people. Of course, it affected everyone, and this was my response to the chaos. Honestly, I wanted a world where there's feeling, where there's emotion, where there's love, a world where इसको बस समेट के ऐसे रख दो. And so that's why I picked love. And like I said, I started writing my Ma story. And and then I began thinking that love is not always the way it's shown in a peppy young romance. I already said I love rom coms and young romances, but life is not like that, you see. And life does not play out the way we have wanted it to play out. And I think COVID taught us that. So I began to think about different kinds of relationships, which we do not conventionally call as a love story.
Hmm.
There is still love in those stories, right? What is at the end of the day, what is love? True love is what helps you grow. True love is what lets you be the best version of yourself,
Hmm.
right? And that is the common thread in all these stories. Love
Yes.
gives you strength. Even if you don't drive off into the sunset, I mean, if you do, it's great.
Hmm.
It's fantastic, and I'm very happy for those who do. But there are enough and more people who don't get to experience love in that form. But
Hmm.
if they are getting strength, if they are getting the courage to live their life, if they are growing, this love is as important as the one where you drive off into the sunset in a car and it says happily married. So I began to explore these things, and also with age, like I said, maybe when I was 25, yes, love is you meet someone in school and you get married. But
Hmm.
when you're 2 decades after 25, you start thinking that there can be different forms of love, and I wanted to explore that. So this, in one word, you're right, this book is just love. It's about how love is universal, but it's also unique to each person, to each relationship. And this was my response to a very stressful period in my life. I wanted to just create something which is very soft and emotional.
How nice. And so it was like an escape route for you during those tough times.
Yeah.
And yeah, it has come out very nicely. I must say that, it makes you think, as I've said in my review also, it makes you think about your definitions of love
Yes.
and how you have come to understand love.
And all of us have a different definition of love, but it's valid. If I tell you, if I say that someone's partner did this for her, you
Hmm.
that person may feel this is nothing, but for another person, the way it's done, the intent with which it comes, it can be different. But both are valid, right? What I
Yeah.
perceive as love, how I experience it, is different from you. But that's the way love is, right? It can only be felt, and here we spent years trying to write it down. So,
Both Sukarna and Deepti are saying beautifully put. Yeah.
thank you
So
so
you have admirers.
much. Thank you so much. Thank you.
That brings us to the end of today's episode. Thank you so much, Shalini, again for joining me. This has been a wonderful conversation, and I keep saying it again and again because I have done this with a lot of authors, and it's not always this easy to have a free flowing conversation. So, thank you once again
Thank
for being so
Thank you,
honest and
Manali.
forthcoming.
Thank you for having me here. Thank you for being so organized in the days leading up to this. And it's been an absolute pleasure just having this chat and having so many people join us. Thank you to all of them also for being here and encouraging both of us.
Yes. Okay, that's it from our sides. Well, thank you, Shalini, and have a great weekend, everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.